Welcome to Real Estate Radio Power Investing, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate investing. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Thanks so much for tuning in to our Real Estate Radio Power Investing program, where we empower you with the education to maximize your investing success. We're broadcasting from the number one business radio station in the San Francisco Bay Area, KDOW AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host for the weekly program on real estate investing. If you can't make the live show, you can catch our podcast on TomWilsonProperties.com or on iTunes or on YouTube. Our program today is on flipping houses, and we have a great expert that we'll bring on here in just a moment. You can go to TomWilsonProperties.com and sign up for our newsletter, which brings you weekly information on what's going on in the world of real estate around the country and what's going on in the economics that influence real estate. You can also, by signing up to our newsletter, you get access to our commercial products and syndications, which are only available to our clients who are signed up with us. For $50,000 per share, you can be an owner in office buildings, industrial products, multifam products that normally only large investors and institutional investors can take advantage of. Also, we always welcome your questions. Be glad to respond or get together with you if you would like some suggestions or for us to weigh in on different options that you have. Our program today is on flipping houses, and we have with us certainly the number one expert that I know, Burwell-Morrongiello, and she's been doing this for over 30 years, has flipped close to a couple hundred houses. And we're not just talking about cosmetic little lipstick on houses off in Dallas or something. We're talking about serious ones that you see on TV for all those programs that make it look like it's so easy. but indeed, it usually takes a little bit more than what they show on the program. So Mary grew up in Wisconsin, came out to the Bay Area, and she's got into the flipping business in an interesting way. We're going to bring her on and have her tell us about that. Mary, welcome to the program. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted.
So Mary, first of all, I want to know what brought a farm girl from Wisconsin out here to California?
My business partner and I, that was my husband for many, many years, and we still work together today. We followed the market trends, and we had been flipping in Tampa Bay for a number of years and began to really look for other areas of the country because the appreciation rate was not what we'd hoped in Tampa at that time. And we decided on California and specifically the wine country after making a trip out here.
So you were one of the rare ones that actually started the career in real estate. That seems pretty rare these days. Most everyone in real estate seems to have started some other career until they got smart enough.
Well, to tell you the truth, I did. I was in the securities business on Wall Street right out of college. Mm-hmm. And when Ronald Reagan came in and changed the St. Germain Act, I was actually a person who sold real estate limited partnerships. And so my career as a securities wholesaler ended very abruptly. And that's when I went into business as an entrepreneur in the hard money lending business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you've told me before that what happened was that you started off kind of in the lending and note business, and then all of a sudden you wound up just like banks do with what they call REO properties, right? Except
exactly right. We fell into flipping because we were in the hard money business, and unfortunately, those who borrow hard money loans, and for those of you who don't know what that means, It's loans that are made to individuals based solely on the collateral, not on their income or their credit or their worthiness as a borrower.
That's a good definition. Not most people go to that distinction, but that's indeed the
pretty
collateral.
simple.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we had private investors who put up those loans at a very safe loan to value, 65% of the value of the collateral. Unfortunately, hard money borrowers often forget the second part of the contract, and that is you need to make the payments. So we began very shortly in the business to end up with inventory, with homes, and oftentimes they weren't in the best of shape. So to protect our investors, I had to put together a crew and learn how to fix them up and get them market ready.
What year was that?
That was 1989 was when we had our first foreclosure.
I don't think the term flipper was around then.
I didn't know the term.
No.
Yep.
No. That's way before it was popularized.
To me, it was known as, oh, crap, we have another problem.
And so how'd you tackle this newfound problem, assuming you had never had an experience in construction and getting permits and all that? How did you go about tackling that? And did you and your husband do it together, or was that kind of the, hey, Mary, I'm busy over here. Can you go figure out what to do with this place?
Well, it's funny that you would put it that way, because I actually think women have a great many natural traits that make them excellent candidates for flipping. Traits that men...
We could take this lots of places.
Well, certainly we could. But
go ahead. Tell me what you think works.
But the bottom line is that we're naturals at having an endless list of things to do and accomplishing them in a day.
Pretty good multitaskers, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes. And so what happened was Michael essentially had to continue to run the normal day-to-day business operations, and so it was thrown on me to go out and figure it out. And I did that. I'm not a licensed contractor. I don't want to have any licenses. I'm not a real estate agent because I've discovered that licenses invite liability in the flipping business. And so in
any business, huh?
Yes, absolutely. And but what I did have to do is I did have to put together crews that I trusted, that I knew that would be not having to be babysat on the job. And in doing that, I had to hire licensed contractors for about the first 5 years so that I could learn what I needed to know. And since then, I've been working as the general contractor.
Did growing up on a farm, you think, expose you to some skill sets that helped you in this in hindsight?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Farm families tend to have many, many children. I was number 7. I was the baby in the pecking order. And what you learn on the farm is very, very strong work ethic is necessary. So we rise early. I get up at 5 a.m. I have been used to that since I was a child. And in addition to that, you learn that it's a very, farming is a feast or famine life, as is flipping. I've gone from rags to riches 3 different times.
And it's, and kind of in farm, I grew up on a farm.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Where?
Virginia. And,
love Virginia.
And and it was, you got to figure out how to, you're kind of on an island a bit. Yeah, you've got neighbors that help and so forth, but a lot of problems that come up and you got to figure out how to solve them yourself.
That's correct.
Right, with the resources that you have.
Yes.
And that's, I kind of, haven't thought about this before our getting together this program today, but that's not bad skill set to learn and paradigm to. Yeah.
And you're often under tremendous financial pressure on farms as well as time pressure if you're dealing in crop farming, which we did.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, very interesting. All right. So what's the big deal, Mary? You guys watch these TV programs and they just seem to flip and they always make money, and it didn't seem like it's that tough. And the gurus come in town and say you can do it too. And so what is it they aren't telling us?
I love that question. Programs HGTV, I'm probably their number one fan. I watch it whenever I can. I have my favorite shows, as most people do. However, it's also the bane of my existence as a flipper. And the reason for that is because of what they don't tell you. And it's what they don't tell you that interferes with your ability when you're trying to buy a home from a seller. Because most people have watched those shows, and sellers have an unrealistic idea of what the profit margins are. And that being
everywhere, not even the unique area of a hot market like San Francisco Bay Area, but
that's right, anywhere. Because the shows are universal now, and so the problem with HGTV and all of the channels that broadcast those shows is I've noticed that they leave out many numbers that aren't included in the end summary, and
For example, they'll show you the rehab cost but they don't have maybe all the closing cost and the holding cost and the utilities and the surprises and all of those things, right? Yeah.
And one of those important numbers that's left out, I've always wanted to see, is what was their budget when they bought the property?
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah.
Because if you don't, as a flipper, factor in 15% into your renovation budget, you will lose money.
Occasionally there's a surprise.
There's a surprise every day. Yes. But the other unfortunate aspect of the flipping programs is that they condense the time frame of how long it takes these projects to an absolutely unrealistic
number. It's kind of like
the
cooking show, isn't it? That's right. Everything has been prepped for 4 hours from all the interns, right?
That's right.
And the cook is there and it's like, wow, this looks easy, right?
Yes. And what generally is a 3-month project looks as though it's 3 weeks on the program.
All right, so elements that are left out, time compression, right? They don't usually go a lot into how hard it was to find that property, do they?
No, which is, in fact, the hardest part of flipping, is finding inventory. And so that's a segment I really would like to talk about in depth for those who have a dream of doing what we do. Yeah,
we'll do that in a bit. But the properties that they get, sometimes they give a little exposure, but they don't go through all the ones that looked like they might be a possibility, but didn't work out, right? Or couldn't get it at the price that would make it work. Or
That's exactly right. And the reality is that we write about 20 offers a week and buy perhaps 2 properties a month.
We have with us flipping expert Mary Morrongiello, who's on the program today here in studio, talking to us about flipping houses, what you should know, and all the things that they don't give you on TV shows and on the gurus. And we'll be back with Mary in just a moment.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Our program today is on flipping houses the right way, and we have with us in studio expert Mary Morrongiello, who is done almost a couple hundred houses over 30-some years, and boy, has she learned a lot over those years, what to do and what not to do. And I would say that from my perspective and the relative small amount that I've done of the quality and significance that she's done in these flip houses, that number one recommendation is don't start off on your own. Right?
Absolutely.
Go partner with somebody who knows how to do it. Would you agree?
Well, I do and I don't, quite honestly.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of joint ventures. I'm not a fan of partnerships. I had a partner because I was married to the partner, but quite frankly, the where you need to have another individual working with you is if you're working on the business, the projects, you need to have someone working full-time finding the properties. You cannot do both, especially in the Bay Area market.
Or any hot market, even the Dallas market now.
That's
it's just
correct.
Crazy. Yeah.
And so in that regard, you can be working together with someone so that you are able to focus on running the projects.
I didn't mean necessarily a JV, but don't try to learn everything and try to do everything yourself on the job. You got to get help, right?
That's right. Great book out. I forget the author. You probably know The E-Myth, where one learns that you can't be working both in your business and on your business and succeed. So the hardest part about being a flipper, and something that the gurus don't teach you, is finding inventory. That's the greatest challenge. And one of the misnomers is that as a flipper, you make your money when you sell the property. That's only when you realize whether or not you actually made money. But you make your money when you buy the property. Number one rule, and a rule that I violate still to this day. You've got to buy right so that you may, if you are in an up market, one that's appreciating and you feel great about the numbers and the budget, that market, especially in California, as volatile as we are, it can turn on a dime. And if you haven't bought that home right, you're going to get hurt.
Buying a home with the assumption or expectation that you'll make money because it'll be worth more when you're done than when you start is a very dangerous strategy, isn't it?
Yes, it's one you cannot count on.
Yep.
Not in this area of the country, at least. And the markets where we have just a very steady appreciation, sure, you don't have the swings and the volatility, but you still need to buy the property right. And the reason for that is because there are always unforeseen circumstances when you begin to tear walls out. And those can be as much as termite damage that was not seen originally. That
it's just impossible to see everything, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And it can be things as substantial as foundation issues that were missed on an inspection.
So talk a little bit in the minute or so we have left in this segment about how someone finds a product at a good price.
We do not find our houses on MLS. Homes that are listed, essentially all the meat's off the bone, especially in a hot market. And so we have to rely on expensive, well-targeted direct mail marketing that's done on a very regular basis, is tracked so that we are mailing to people over and over again. And then we have to be able to cull through those calls when they come in and determine which are deals worth pursuing.
Okay.
And worth pursuing means that we need to get in the door on the deals that look as though they may have some potential. And then once you've done that, perhaps one or two a month are going to actually come to fruition and make a deal. So
how many deals, calls, or inquiries that you get do you have to result in one deal that you buy?
Our return rate is about 1% on the amount that we mail out.
Right.
And so of that 1%, let's say we have 10 calls, out of 100 calls, perhaps 2 or 3 will end up in actual deals.
Okay, there you go. It's work. All right, Mary Morrongiello is with us today talking about flipping houses. Stay with us. We're going to talk with her some more about how to do that and minimize errors.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Our program today is about flipping, and we have flipping expert Mary Morrongiello, who's here with us in studio today, talking about one of the key things with flipping successfully is to make sure you buy right. And I've had people come to me and say, Tom, I don't understand. I've made offers on 6 places, and I don't have one yet.
Right.
So just before the break, you said in your own mail campaign, you out of how many calls do you have to get to result in one? About close to 100 sometimes.
Yes, about if we
100.
Yes, 1%.
And out of those 100, you'll it'll be good enough. You'll go see how many of those people, talk to those people in person.
On the phone, out of those 100, we'll convert perhaps. I'd say a good 20% to actually moving to the next step past the phone call. Mm-hmm. So you call out 80% of them just aren't deals.
Right.
And that comes from knowing the market. Mm-hmm. Then among those 20, most of them will chicken out of actually meeting you at the property and letting you see it. So you're lucky if you get into 2 or 3 of them and sit down at a kitchen table and talk numbers and sign them up. Mm-hmm. That's a good month.
The successful one often takes how long at that kitchen table?
Oh boy, I would say we average 3 to 4 encounters with the people to build rapport and trust. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very good. That alone is probably worth a potential flipper listening to this program who thinks every 3 offers I'll get a deal ready to go. If they do, they're probably overpaying, right?
They are overpaying. Yes, that's right.
In addition to that, what are some other common mistakes that the new wannabe flipper makes?
Number one is they pay too much, Tom, and that's because the brand newbie in the market of flipping does not yet have the network to pick up deals that are what we call off market or are pocket deals that are brought to them by real estate agents that never see the market. And so their first place that they turn to are those that are listed in the MLS, and the soccer mom agent that they know calls them and says, I have a contractor special. This one would be perfect for you. And unfortunately, they pay too much. So that's the biggest mistake. Secondly is they spend too much. Once they have the deal, very often people will fall in love with the renovation process and they will renovate as though it were a home they were going to move into. Yep. Yes.
Don't treat it as a business.
That's right. Mm-hmm. They treat it as a hobby or as a design love affair. Mm-hmm. And so they spend too much. And probably the third most common mistake is then they try to get too much. They bring the property, finished product on the market. They're chasing their tail now. And
sometimes they price it higher, hoping to recover the overspending that they did.
That's right. And that just exacerbates the issue.
Yeah, rather than it has nothing to do with what they want out of it. It has to do with what the market's willing to pay for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And the outcome of that then is that the property sits. It doesn't get offers, and eventually it becomes stale, and now they have to start dropping the price.
In this kind of market, do you tend to price above, at, or below the market?
We price very aggressively. We price sometimes below what we need to get out of it to make a profit in order to generate the excitement we need to drive the price up.
Good stuff. This is worth listening to the program just alone today on. So that's good input, Mary. We'll be back in just a moment on Real Estate Radio Power Investing on KDOW 1220 AM, the Wall Street Business Network. To ask Mary some more questions. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Boy, it's not every day you get to hear from a from an investor who's done close to a couple hundred high quality flips, and it's so good to have Mary with us today. Mary, you find the house. We've learned that you don't overpay for it because you make the money when you buy it. But you got to rehab it somehow. So how do you find a good contractor?
That is such an important question for people that are new in flipping. I did not become my own general contractor until I had probably 10,000 hours of experience. So it was about 5 years before I went out on my own.
Now, do you tend to act as the GC yourself?
I am always the GC. I pull all the permits and do the drafting. And I have a full-time crew of men now. And then I subcontract out the HVAC, the plumbing, the electric, and roofing and whatnot. However, when you're new, you've got to use a contractor, but as we all know, there are good ones and bad ones. So how do you determine who the good contractor is? This is my best advice. There is an area at every Home Depot that is designated as pro parking. And it's near the entrance where all the lumber goes in and out. Mm-hmm. And the professional contractors pull in there anywhere between 6 and 7 a.m. in the morning. Those are the serious guys who show up for work every day, who aren't drinking at night. Those are the men who are professionals. And so if you camp out there for a couple of weeks, you simply write down their names and numbers off of their trucks, their license numbers, and that's really the best pool to cull from. And then, of course, you want to get references from prior clients of theirs, and you want to go look at some of the jobs they've done. The second thing that I did back when I was looking for a contractor is I actually looked at the cleanliness of their work truck and the types.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Most people know to look at the quality of the car of a prospective tenant.
There you go.
But that's very good.
Same goes with the contractor.
I haven't thought about that.
Make them open up the back, look and see how well organized their tools are. Because if they keep care of their tools and they organize their truck, these are men that are probably going to be more anal about the quality of work they do on the job.
I think I just thought of somebody I'm going to fire now. That's my recommendation for finding a good contractor. That's terrific. And if probably those folks that show up that early or that have that kind of work ethic aren't looking for business, so you may not find them on Craigslist or whatever else, right?
Yes, that's correct. And the second part of that is you need to understand you need to pay a good contractor well, and they are well worth their money.
Do you tend to pay them bonuses if they do something in a certain period of time or give them incentives?
In flipping, time is money. And so when you're starting out and working with a contractor, I gave them enormous incentives to stay on a specific timeline, sometimes as much as $10,000 if they brought it in on time. And then I would start to withdraw $1,000 a day of the bonus. That contractor never let me down. I think the most he ever missed of his bonus was 2 days. Yes.
Very good. Very good. And you're your own GC because if you hired a GC, you'd still have to be have as much oversight anyway.
Yes,
and then you'd have to pay them their 20%.
That's correct.
And you got to manage the thing anyway, right?
And 20% these days in this market, that's all your profit.
Yep.
20%, you're doing well as a flipper in this market. Hear that. That. We're flipping right now in margins that are as low as 8 to 10%. Single
digit, yep.
Absolutely.
Single digit, yep. And that means there's not much room for error, huh?
No, that's correct.
Let's talk about design. How in the world do you figure out how to finish a house? No, I think the problem that I've noticed is that most people know how they'd like their house to be, but that makes no difference, does it? What you want to do is you want to position it for what the market wants.
That's right. There may be a male flipper out there that wants a home that looks like Tony Curtis or Dean Martin, but that's not going to work in the marketplace for flipping. So
I'm going to pretend I don't know who they are.
Here's what you need to do, and that is you need to watch HGTV and those other channels because they will keep you up on one thing, and that is the current design trends. What are those right now? Granite is out in flips. You
Very
need
pedestrian now, right?
You need to be using quartz countertops. You need the kitchens to be extremely light. White kitchens have been the rage now for 2 years.
My local cabinet contractor says 35% of all his cabinets are white, and most of those are shaker.
That's correct. Yes. And so...
But that wasn't true 5 years ago.
No. 5.0, they were painted cabinets and more of a rustic modern farmhouse look. You also need to be able to make the distinction between how to renovate different styles of homes. So you're doing on a mid-century modern something completely different than a modern farmhouse, and something, again, very different than a Tuscan.
Has to fit the neighborhood. It has to fit the price class.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Yep.
And so if you can't afford a designer, which is most likely the case, unless you're doing multi-million-dollar flips, the best thing to do is buy magazines right at the checkout counter and go through them on a weekly basis. Go to open houses of homes that are flips and the ones that are selling quickly, and see what the design choices.
Not the ones that were designed by a designer that made the owners fit their personality, but ones that somebody else has done as a flip. Right?
That's correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you'll learn and not make expensive errors.
Do you like Houzz? HOUZZ.com?
I do like Houzz.
I like Houzz a lot. Yeah.
Pinterest is a very good place of reference. And even the HGTV online website, where you can really have time to go through before and after photos.
Important ingredient. My experience is that if you're doing a below median price house, you can pretty much throw darts at Home Depot, stainless steel, and and you're probably okay. But as soon as you get up median or above, by golly, you'd better make sure you got the finish in today's market, right?
Yes.
Yep. Mary will be back with us in just a moment for a little wrap up and tell us where she thinks the market's going. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
What a pleasure it's been to have Mary Morrongiello on the program today, sharing. She has nothing to sell. She's just here because she loves the topic, and she's sharing things to try to help others from going through some of the agonies that she's experienced the hard way.
Amen.
About flipping houses. You got to sell the thing when you're all done. I guess if you have a license, you just go ahead and sell it yourself, right? Because you save 2.5%, right? Or is that not a good philosophy?
No, that's very poor advice, and I know that you were being sarcastic.
Me? Mary.
Flippers, you do not sell your own properties, even if you're a real estate agent. And the reason for that is, again, liability. You need to have an arm's length transaction once the property's done and on the market. Let other professionals handle the dotting of the I's and crossing the T's. But more importantly is knowing which real estate agent is the best prospect to sell your specific house. And I really need to impress upon everyone that you do not use real estate agents because they're friends of the family or because you sit at your son's baseball game with them and chat them up and you feel as though you owe it to them. You need to treat your selection of a real estate agent the way that I do family and friends. I don't do business with family. I don't do business with friends. It's the quickest way to ruin a relationship. And the same with real estate agents. I hire real estate agents that are the biggest sharks in the market in which the property is located, the agents that have been agents for 10 to 12 years minimum, so that they know the buyer's agents that are coming with contracts, and they know whether these are people that can actually perform. So hire local, where the property is, and hire a shark who's been in the business and is experienced and knows the network of the other agents.
And that advice can save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. I would totally agree. And just a little bit time we have left here, Mary. Is there some hot market time left here in the Bay Area, or are we getting peaked out?
I thought 18 months ago that we were peaked out. I thought we were in a bubble. I still feel that that it's imminent. I just don't know when. And so we are looking at staying in flips that we can be in, done, and out of within no more than 12 weeks. So that if that market...
12 weeks, did you hear that?
That's
not
right.
18, not 18 months, 12 weeks. Yeah.
We're not buying ones that have to be lifted, foundations, adding on square footage. Those large projects we're shying away from right now because we're very, very nervous.
Great advice. Mary, thank you for being on the program. If they want to reach you, your email is quickly.
My email is futurevalueinc and the digit 1 at AOL.com.
Mary, thank you for being on the program, and thank you, listeners, for listening in. Remember, you can go to TomWilsonProperties.com and listen to our podcast for all our radio guests, including Mary. And also sign up for our newsletter for weekly information on what's going on in the real estate market, and also get yourself access to products as they come out in the commercial multifam arena that you can buy for $50,000 a share. Thanks for tuning in today, and remember, the only thing that matters is what you do next. I'll see you on the next program.